How's everybody doing today? Good? All right. Well, I'm Gilbert, as you all know, and I am a financial advisor. Does anybody here even know what that is? No? Okay. The easy way is I'm basically a stockbroker. So I manage people's money. You don't want to be working your entire life, right? Well, you're going to have to save some money, and in order to not work forever, I help you invest your money so when you get to a certain age, whether you want to be 30, 40, 70, I help you retire. That's basically what my job is. And I started 10 years ago. Well, I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm now in my 9th year. And I could have never, even though you don't technically need a bachelor's degree to do what I do, nobody will hire you without one. In order to get your licensing, you need to have graduated from college. And with that, I started almost 9 years ago, and I am now working for myself and have been doing that for 6 years here on the west side of El Paso. But before that, I went to Burgess High School and graduated in '02 and went straight to UTEP and had the best time of my life. I really enjoyed it. Made a lot of good friends there and had some issues. It wasn't the easiest thing to do. And I think one of the biggest things was my mother was working at UTEP at the time, so she was always hounding on me on what I needed to be doing, what everybody else was doing. And she worked in numbers, so she knew all the statistics of what was going on at UTEP, how long it took people to graduate. And at that time, it took the average student 6 years to get their degree at UTEP. That's for a 4-year degree. Now, it took me longer than 4 years. It took me 5 years. And there's reasons for that. And I think there's reasons that a lot of us will share. I was working during school. How many of you all are working? Yeah, that's pretty much everybody here, right? I was working too. One of the biggest things that happened is when I first started, we all take our placement test to see where we need to start, what classes we need to take. And I decided to go out and have a good time with my buddies the night before. Didn't get any sleep and I barely made it to the test. And the writing portion I did extremely well. They said, hey, you really know how to write. But apparently I didn't know how to read what I could write. So I placed into remedial English. I didn't like that, and I ended up going back a couple of days later, taking the exam again, and I placed out of remedial English. But my point of that being is, throughout my college career, I spent a lot of time going out with friends, which we all do. We're talking about what we're going to do this weekend, right? But what I learned, and today, the reason that I'm actually here is because of a relationship that I made 14 years ago when I started school. I'm 32 years old. And this gentleman's brother-in-law is a good friend of mine that I met in my first class at UTEP. We had a circles program that is what they called in engineering, which means circles was wherever you placed in, they gave you a group of students. So all of you guys here would go through college together. Every class, all your core classes you would take together. Now, I didn't stay in engineering. I ended up moving over to business. But the relationships that I developed back then, I still have today. And those are very important because the people that I went out with when I was in high school encouraged me to do things that I look at today were not necessarily best for me at that time. And it's not their fault. They were my choices. But with that, I would have rather gone out during the week. I don't think it's as easy to go out now, but I used to go out a lot in Juarez back then, and we would go party and whatever. But the relationships that I developed in school, I believe, are a lot stronger relationships. We had a lot of the same goals in mind. We're very like-minded. We spent a lot of time together at school, and after school we would go out together. But the next morning we'd be up at 7 o'clock, hungover, in class together studying, and we all ended up graduating together, most of us. And what I mean by that is there's been a lot of studies that have shown that if you surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that have the same goals you do, your chances of success go up exponentially. And that's something that I learned in school, and those relationships have really helped me out today. After that, another experience that I had is, I remember we went out one night, and it was a week before summer school was about to start. And I went out with a couple of my friends from high school, and they ended up just leaving me and stealing my money. You know, people that I had known for 10 years. And this is money that I had saved up to pay my summer school tuition the next day. So I didn't have the money. I didn't have financial aid to go to school. So things were a little bit more difficult for me, because if I wanted to do extra things, I had to work, I had to pay for my own tuition, get loans. That made things more difficult, because I had to decide whether or not I wanted to work full-time or go to school full-time. And I chose to go to school full-time. So I was poor. I remember I didn't have, I used to get paid once a month in college, and if I had money left over by the 25th of the month, I was lucky. I never had extra money in my bank account. Because of gas. Gas was like $4.50 a gallon back then. That's when it was skyrocketing. It was more than double what it is today. I had to pay for my own car, which that was difficult, and then I crashed that, so I had no way to get to school. I was taking the bus every day from the far east side. It took me 3 hours to get to school every single day, and that was difficult. I got really sick one year. But my point with this is I stuck through it, and so did everybody else that I knew at that time. I was always told that if I were to take a semester off, then the chances of me coming back to school the semester after that are pretty slim. So I always made sure that I at least took at least 2 or 3 classes for the semester. And that's something, looking back at, that I'm really glad that I did. Because I know we all go through the same hurdles. Money's a big issue for all of us, especially in school, and that's, with that, it was a difficult decision. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about money. When I was in school, minimum wage was $5.25 an hour. So I was making maybe $6 or $7 an hour. Full-time at $6 an hour is $12,000 a year. And the average wage when we were graduating was about $36,000 with your college degree. I got a degree straight out of, I got a job offer straight out of college. I actually got 3. And none of them were here in El Paso, as a matter of fact. I got a job offer in Phoenix for $60,000 a year at 23 years old. That's more money than I had ever dreamed of in my entire lifetime. I didn't take it because I was in love with a woman. I know, right? We get smarter as we get older. I chose to stay here, and I became a stockbroker. And that's what I'm doing today. And I think my first year out of college, I made $42,000. That's $30,000 more than I would have ever made if I had worked full-time in college. And I didn't make those $12,000 in college. I was working part-time, so I was only making like $7,000 a year. So we think about that. And even the one extra year that it took me to graduate, I was still behind $30,000 if I would have just dedicated myself to go to school full-time and graduate in 4 years instead of 5. And what I mean by that is you guys need to think about sticking to it and opportunity. That money, that flexibility, it offers us so much opportunity. We're able to travel to so many different places, do it on the way that we would like to. Right now, Since I do work for myself, I get to do whatever I want whenever I want. That's why I'm here today. It's Friday morning, and I don't need to ask for time off. We have a lot of flexibility in our schedule, but I can also go anywhere that I would like to go. So if I didn't want to be in El Paso, I can go to New York or I can go to California, and it would be easy for me to find a job opportunity out there because of my education and the fact that we stuck through it. Education is nothing but a tool, and it's a very powerful tool if you understand how to take it seriously. I remember my best friend in college, we went to dinner with his father, and his father was in school with us at the time. He was doing engineering with his son, and he was like 52 years old. And he had gone through his entire life without finishing school, and he ended up going back. So I asked him, after so many years, why are you back at school? And he said exactly the same thing. The flexibility, the opportunity. I just can't leave here. And I need to be able to do more with my life. And he told me, he's like, Gilbert, the thing that I have learned about school more than anything else is that school lets others know that you can commit to something that's very important. It's a long-term project and it lets other people know that you can take on that responsibility and that you can do it yourself. Because no one else is telling you, hey, you need to get up this morning and be at school at 9 o'clock. You need to, on Monday morning, you need to have your quiz done and your research paper done. It's only on you if you don't do it. You're not gonna get in, nobody's gonna be telling you, hey, did you finish that? Because if you didn't, you're gonna have to take this class again next semester. It's gonna take you an extra 6 months to get out of school. And that's something that's difficult to really understand. And those skills that you develop now, that I developed when I was your age, sitting in those chairs, they go on with you for the rest of your life. And it allows you to, it has allowed me to see different parts of the world. I travel about once a month somewhere, at least for 4 days out of the week, but it's usually about a full week I'm somewhere, and I really appreciate that. When I was in college, I think I took 2 trips the entire time. I went to spring break twice because I didn't have any time, I didn't have any money. I was going to school full time, and I remember the hardest thing was paying for my living expenses, just so I could get through. There was, let me see, I have like I said, I had that money stolen. The friends that I had started with weren't necessarily the best influences for me at that time. There was, and the biggest thing probably out of anything else is I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I don't know, I mean, how many of you all right now know what you want to do with the rest of your life? You got 2 people here. That's, you're way ahead of where I was. I thought I knew. I had no clue. Even when I graduated, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I just knew that I didn't want to be stressing about life and not having any money in my bank account at the end of the month like I had done ever since I had graduated high school. That was the biggest thing. But after all those, after everything, after all the issues that I had in college, things weren't too hard for me. It wasn't too bad. But what I did learn is not only the skills of responsibility and going to school, I did a lot of extracurricular activities in school, and that's something that helped me out more than anything else. Internships, getting involved with professionals around the community, just having them allow me shadow them, learning them. Those relationships that I developed they were great relationships. I ended up traveling with professors while I was still at UTEP on projects that we did together. There was some other professors that we would go smoke cigars after class together. Now I know that may be a little unconventional, but all of these people that I've developed relationships with 12 years ago, I still talk to today. And they have become friends. And they are people that I trust and I really respect. And they really influenced me on what I wanted to do as I got older. And those extracurricular activities, for me, at least what it did for me, is they helped set me apart from all my other competition. I didn't have the best GPA when I got out of school, but I had more job offers than any of my other friends did. And it was because of the fact that I was able to show that I was applying myself with the things that I learned in school at that time. And a lot of times I wasn't even paid for it. I was doing things just so I could learn. And that really helped me out more than anything else. And let's see, what else do I have on here? The biggest thing that I take from my college experience are the relationships that I made. I have a lot of good friends that we've stayed in touch with over the years. And everybody seemed to, everybody seems to be pretty happy. We all did pretty well. We keep in touch, and like I said, the fact that we are like-minded, I believe, has really helped us move forward and want to do things together. My college degree, it really helped provide flexibility. I work maybe 25 hours a week right now. My income is over $150,000 a year, which is something that I could have never done if I didn't apply myself those first 6 years of my life. 6 years, wow, no, it was 5. Don't add that extra year. But if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And that's something that I am grateful to my parents for, because my mom is in education, and she really was tough on me going through that. And I think that was probably one of my biggest hurdles, is not wanting to disappoint her. I had a lot of friends that their parents may have not gone to school or whatnot, so they didn't have that at home where they told them, hey, you need to graduate or whatnot. But with me, that was probably my biggest thing, and I'm thankful for that. So now that I've told you a little bit about my past, I'm gonna ask you guys. I'm gonna let you guys ask me some questions. So anybody that wants to, has anything on their mind, go ahead and speak up. Nothing?
Actually, I got a question.
Okay.
Why'd you change majors?
I changed majors because at that time the money that I had set aside for school was not available to pay for summer school. And because of that, the Circles program that I was in, the engineering college would not allow me to pay late. So with that, I went over to the business college and took summer school, and business was like, we'll take your money, go ahead. So that's really what the reason that I moved from one college to another. And I did that doing that actually set me back about 6 months because there was different classes that I had to take that was not required in business that we did that were required in engineering. So I graduated with quite a few more hours than needed, but it was good. Anything else? Anybody? No?
Did you stay with that girl that?
Did I stay with that girl? I actually did. We were together for quite a while up until recently. I married that woman and then we got divorced. So I did stay. The girl that the reason that I stayed here for her is we ended up staying together for quite a while. And it was a really good experience. So I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah, we had that conversation before.
Yeah, women can be great motivators. Now, anybody else? No? Come on, guys, don't be shy. Yeah. Do I find my career to be meaningful? You know what, I really do. There's a lot of things that I'm able to do in my life that when I was your age, I didn't even know existed. So for one thing, and I think that we can all relate to here, one of the biggest things that I help people do is I don't only do retirement. That's just the biggest thing that people can relate to in my position. But I help a lot of parents save money for their children to go to school. So some of us here are on financial aid, others are not. I wasn't on financial aid. So what I do is, if you do have children, I help you save so your child doesn't have to have the hurdles that we are all going through, finding out how they're going to pay for their books or how they're going to pay their tuition. I have others that they go to school out of town, so we find a way to pay. I help them save for their room and board, which is their apartment or wherever they're living, food. That's a big thing that I really help with. When I was your age, I didn't even know that existed. But I find it extremely rewarding. One of the biggest fears that I find with people that I help is they don't ever want to depend on their children. That is a big fear a lot of people have as they grow older. They don't want to go back home and have their children take care of them the way they took care of their own children when they were born, right? When they were babies. So I don't think we ever take that fear away completely, but I help minimize that so that they are financially independent their entire lives. And that is something that I take great pride in. So yeah, I do find it rewarding.